If I'm complaining about, a 5 a.m. hair and makeup call, I'll be like, De Niro did it day after day and he was 80 years old. I'm not a workaholic for sure. I still, to this day, am very aware and conscious of the fact that I'm living my dream. When I was, certainly by the time I got to high school, it was an actual dream that I could actually be an actor in the world. But it never seemed like reality. That was not something that seemed tangible from my small town in Lynchburg, Virginia. I still feel to this day like it is the joy. Now of course I have my son and, but it is really a joy of my life and really a big part of who I am. And so I love it. And, I choose roles carefully. At the same time, I feel very fortunate when I have the opportunity to play a role that challenges me, that pushes me outside my comfort zone, that allows me to explore a different part of what it is being a woman in the world. First and foremost was Robert De Niro. That was for sure a bucket list thing, and it also felt like, wow, what an opportunity to be able to experience working with Robert De Niro in his first time in television. I will think about that for the rest of my life. If I'm complaining about, a 5 a.m. hair and makeup call, I'll be like, De Niro did it day after day and he was 80 years old. No, do you know what? He's actually not here on this junket right now. And I haven't really seen him since that all came up. So we haven't talked about it. It's barely on my radar. It's probably barely on his radar too. So I was playing in the film a real person with Billy Bob Thornton, playing the coach, Gary Gaines. In the film, there was very little for me to do. Even less so by the time it came out. Like whatever I had done was mostly on the cutting room floor. When the TV show came around, I said, no, thank you. I was really hoping for something more for myself than playing sort of the fly-on-the-wall wife character in a football show. Pete Berg, he was very persuasive, and he said the women are important in these communities, in this culture, and we didn't get a chance to show that in the film, and this is our opportunity to show it in the TV show. It was a big risk because people say whatever they want to say, and then whether they do it or not is another story. And then, of course, working with Kyle Chandler, that was just lightning in a bottle. I could never have imagined that, I would find this acting partner who had the same aspirations for the kind of couple that we wanted to portray and was willing to commit to that so deeply. That is a strange experience. I've said this before, but every role that I play, I want to feel like I'm doing something a little bit different than I've ever done before and something that feels like a little bit of a challenge. And that one was really about like, okay, so I'm going to play a mom who's dead. But when I'm playing her, she's alive, but she's not talking to anybody. Except she's talking to the person that she knows better than anybody in the world. I was trying to establish the most intimate relationship of my character's life without the other person across from me. It was really a lot of fun to do that and really challenging, ultimately very rewarding. When I became a mother, it gave me a completely different relationship with my mother. I'm like, oh my gosh, all I keep thinking is she was just doing the best she could. And my mother wasn't a single mom, but my dad was away working a lot. And, it's like, and also she came from a generation where they kind of were left to do a lot of it on their own. I became a single mom and then I went and started working on Nashville and didn't know a soul in Nashville, Tennessee, and started working 16-hour days, 18-hour days, and had this little baby at home and just was like, it was kind of crisis mode a little bit because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know what I was doing, and I really didn't have people to rely on, but I had a nanny who was a stay-at-home nanny. So like I realized like, oh my gosh, at least I have help. And I had a friend who was working on the show with me in the costume department. Single mom, her husband had actually died of brain cancer. Single mom of 4. Also working these crazy long hours. She did not have the kind of help that I had. And I just remember thinking one day, like, I want to create an organization or something where people can volunteer one day a week to go grocery shopping or pick up the kids at school for a single mom or do something. It's become something now where I really hope that the show itself is going to not only lift up single moms and actually create a support system, because my dream of creating sort of almost a nationwide community of support for single parents. I always knew I wanted to be a mom. I started doing a documentary about Ethiopian orphans, like in the early 2000s. And I went to Ethiopia a couple times. And in the time that I was there, I really had this sense that that was something I wanted to do, that I wanted to adopt from Ethiopia. But I thought that maybe I would have a biological child first, perhaps. I didn't know. And then actually, after my dad died, my mom died, and then 3 years later, my dad passed away, I was sort of left with that feeling of, oh, what am I waiting for? I thought, this is the time. I'm going to start the adoption process. And I was very fearless about that because I knew that I wanted to adopt from Ethiopia. I knew that I hadn't achieved the kind of partnership that I was looking for to have a spouse and have a child together. And so I was like, well, I know I want to do this. So I went into it a little bit blindly, not really fully anticipating what it is to be a single mom and how difficult that is. It's actually affected my work life more. I mean, now I've met my partner and we've been together for over 5 years. So, but even before that, it was more really work because I was so split. And, you know, as I said, like I love working and was very dedicated to that and had lived my life for a very long time. Like, I love to work. This is what I want to do. And then suddenly I had this other human being that I wanted to put my focus into. And so it was a real adjustment. It's like, oh, now I have to think for this whole other person. But dating wise, I think other than just like having less time to date, it didn't impact that nearly as much. But I did take some time off from work, and that's when I finally met my partner. For me, what I was really looking for was a partnership and a relationship where there's constant growth on both sides and deepening of each other, and therefore deepening of who you are. It makes me a better mom and a better actor and just a better person in the world. That's what I was looking for. It's not just like, oh, I found true love. It's that I found somebody who I can walk on a journey with that is going to be constantly ever changing, but also ever deepening.